Hi, beautiful people. You're welcome to an interesting tutorial. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing us how to make this beautiful cut together with sleeve denim jacket that has a bucket flare attached to the sleeve opening. And the down part is a 180 flare. This is beautiful and it is simple to make. So before we get right into the video, if you're yet to subscribe to my channel, please quickly hit on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure that you turn on your notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And please, if you find this video helpful, do not hesitate to share this video, like this video, leave nice comments, ask questions if you have any. So without wasting time, let's jump right into the tutorial. These are the materials I'll be using for this project, and this is an Ankara fabric. And then this is a denim fabric, which is also known as jeans, and I've cut out what I'll be using to draft. I'll be drafting our front and back together. So the one on top is going to serve as the front pieces, and the length I have here is 20 inches. And then the one underneath is going to serve as the back, and the length I have here is 22.5. This is because the back is going to lay over in front. And here the fabric for the back is on fold, and I have 16 inches on fold, while the one for the front I have about 25 inches. This is because we're going to be cutting our facing and the front piece together. So we're not going to cut a facing and attach to it. So right now, I'll go ahead and fold in that excess I have so that it is equal with the one I have under, which is 16 inches. So you can either fold in the excess on top or fold it under, just like I have done. Can you see? So this is it. So having folded, next I'm going to draw the starting line, which is going to serve as the shoulder line. And I'll be marking that starting line on the front piece. Remember, the back piece is the one that is longer, so I'll be marking the shoulder line on the front piece. So I haven't marked the starting line now. So for us to know the width of our fabric, because this is a cut together with sleeve, the shoulder measurement I'm working with is shoulder 16 inches. 16 divided by 2, that is 8. The desired sleeve length is extra 7 inches. So 7 plus 8 inches, that's 15 inches. So from this folded part, I'm going to mark 15 inches. Can you see? And then plus half inch, so that's 15.5. Okay, so I haven't marked it at that point. Now I'm going to mark the neck width. The neck width I'm working with is 3 inches. And then I will come down from here, that's from the end of the fabric here, by 1.5 inches for our shoulder slant. And then I'm going to connect it to the neck width like this. Okay, so now having done that, next I'm going to mark the neck depth. So for this front, I'm going to mark a neck depth of 1.5. We'll understand why I'm marking 1.5. Neck depth of 1.5, while the neck width is 3 inches. I'll go ahead and curve it out like this. So next I'm going to measure from the shoulder line. I'm going to mark the bust point. And the bust point I'm working with is 11 inches. So this is where our bust point is, 11 inches. And then the waistline, like I said, is 19 inches, okay? I'm sorry, 18 inches, plus my hemming allowance of 2 inches. So this is it here. So all we need is the bust line and the waistline. So this is our hemming allowance and this down part. So here on the bust line, I'm going to enter the bust measurement divided by 4, which is 9.5. And then I'll add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. Then on the waistline, I'm going to enter the same bust measurement divided by 4. Then plus same 2 inches. So you can see that this is basically going to be straight. Okay, so next I'm going to create the sleeve opening. So you can see that this is our bust line and this is the shoulder slant. So this extension I have here, I'm just going to be working with this for our sleeve. But at this point, I will come in by ½ inch. But at this point, I will come in by 1 inch. At this side, I'll come in by 1 inch. This is so that this bucket sleeve does not drop more at this part. This is the down part and this is the upper part. So I came in by 1 inch. And then I'll connect it this way. Now, please take note of something. This is where our actual measurement stops. So taking it straight here, that means I'm not coming by anything. So I will come in by that 1 inch I just talked about here. And then I will slant it to meet the measurement here. Can you see? So this is it. So at this side, I'm going to create this curved shape. You don't want to leave it sharp. So I'm just going to create this curved shape here. And here we are. So the next thing I'm going to do, like I said, the back will lay over the front. So now from this shoulder slant, I will go up by 2.5 inches. Following the shoulder slant here. I'm going up by 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and connect it like this. So I went up by 2.5 inches because we need ½ inch to join them together. So remember I said that the back is 2 inches longer than the front. So I went up by 2.5 from the shoulder slant because we need ½ inch to join them together. Okay? And then the neck depth I'm going to use is that same 2.5 inches. But of course the neck width is 3 inches, just like the front. So I'll also curve it out this way. You see? So this is it. So neck depth of 2.5 inches. And then neck width of same 3 inches. Remember that for the front I used 1.5. So by the time this 2.5 lays over in front here, remember we're going to use ½ inch to stitch them together. So that means it's going to be left with 1. So that extra 2 inches now that is coming from the back will make up the front because the back does not have any neckline. The back is supposed to be a ½ inch neckline. Okay? So now this is it. So we'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to cut out from the shoulder slant here. And then first I'm just going to cut the back neckline. You can see how I raised the back and the front to cut the back neckline. And then I'm going to take out this. So I'll take it out like this. Okay, so now we have cut out our back. So I'm going to separate the front from the back. So we can now cut the back and the front shoulder slant. So I'm going to take out the front shoulder slant now. And remember that the front is on fold. It's folded into 4. So that means the facing is there at the back. Okay, so I'll cut it out like this. Can you see? So we now have the facing for our front. Can you see that? So now I'm going to create a shape for the facing. I'm not going to just leave it big like this. So from here, I'm going to come in by 3 inches. 3 inches, 3.5 is okay. So I'm just going to take it straight like this and then curve it to the shoulder like this. Can you see that? So this is it. So I'll just go ahead now and cut out this. Can you see? So now we have our facing. So this is what we're going to do when we're sewing. We'll place it like this, right side facing right side. And then we're going to turn the neckline here. Can you see? We'll turn the neckline this way. Then we'll use the facing, because this is the facing now. We're going to use it to turn the shoulder of the back. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to cut the facing for the back, because we already have the facing for the front. And we're also going to be designing it, just making that double stitch like the style we are trying to replicate. Okay, so let's keep the 2 front pieces aside. And then we'll cut the facing for the back. So I'll just bring in this leftover and place it on fold. So I'll trace out the neckline. So when cutting the facing, the width of the facing, just like you need to make sure that the shoulder width are the same thing. You see? So this is it. So this is where it ends. You don't want one wider than the other. Okay, I'm going to cut out the facing. Okay, so we now have our back facing. and here it is. You see, so we're going to place it right side facing right side and turn the neckline. So now the next thing we're going to do is to cut the bucket flare. And to cut the bucket flare, so we need to measure the sleeve opening here. You can see that the back is longer than the front, so you need to place them over like this, because this is how we're going to be stitching them together. And then we'll measure the sleeve opening. So here the sleeve opening I have is 10 inches. That's after joining it. You can see that I placed my ½ inch over it. That's the way we're going to join it. So I have 10 inches here, and my sewing allowance here is going to be 1 inch. So that means the sleeve opening is actually 9 inches. So 9 inches, now this depends on how much fabric you have and how much you want to gather. So 9 inches, I'm going to multiply 9 inches by 2. By 2 is fine. You can do by 2.5, you can do by 3. So this depends on how much gathers you want to have and also how much fabric you intend using. Okay, so that 9 inches times 2 is 18 inches. So when we multiply by 2.5, that will give us 22.5 inches. Okay, which is still fine. So maybe we should just do 22.5 inches. So, and that's, remember that that's one side. So 22.5, no, let's use 18. 18 times 2. Now that is 36 inches. So that's 36 inches. So the width of the fabric we're going to gather, because the 9 inches we measured is just on one side. And you know we have the front side and the back side. I hope we understand that. So even if you decide to use the 22.5, that will be times 2. So that will be 45 inches, which is the length of our Ankara. Let's use it so that we don't waste the Ankara, since the length of Ankara is 45 inches. Okay? So now this is it unfold. So you can see these are 45 inches. So the length of the bucket sleeve, I'm cutting the bucket sleeve on fold. The length of the bucket sleeve is 10 inches. So 10 inches, that's including my sewing allowance, so that by the time I stitch with ½ inch, I'll be left with 9.5. So I'll go ahead and cut it. Take note that this is on fold. It is on fold. So that means we're going to cut 2 pieces. Each of them will be cut on fold. We now have these 2 pieces that we're going to be using to create our bucket sleeve. So this is it. So it is on fold because we want it to have that standing effect. We're going to have crinoline placed in between. But let's go ahead and cut out the flare skirt before we start talking about the sleeves, okay? Or before we go ahead and treat the sleeves. Okay, so to cut the flare skirt, we need to get the radius of the flare, because it's a circle skirt and it's a half circle, 180 degrees circle. We have a waist circumference of 29 inches. So 29 divided by 3.14, which is a normal standard for our 180 flare, and that gave me 9.23, which is 9 inches. So that means the radius of this skirt is going to be 9 inches. So next is the length of the skirt. This skirt is going to have a waistband, so plus the waistband and the total length of the flare, that is 40 inches, and the band is going to be big. So I'm going to be using 4 inches for the band. Okay, so 40 minus 4, that's 36. So that means the length of the flare is 36 inches. So I'll add this 36 inches to this radius I have here. So plus 36 inches, so that's 45.2, which is still 45 inches. I need extra 1 inch. That's for hemming it at the down part, and then the band, that band is going to take care of the upper part. Okay, so that's plus extra 1 inch. That is 46 inches, which is the length of my wrapper, including the selvage area, which is just fine. Okay, so now we have gotten the length of our flare, which is 45 inches. So on this selvage here, I'm going to measure 45 inches. So I'll measure 45 inches. I've done several flares on this channel. So 46 inches, I beg your pardon, not even 45. So let's confirm and be sure we have our 46 inches. So as you can see, I have 46 inches on fold in 2 places. So I'm just going to cut it out so that I don't have too much fabric to work with. Okay, so here, so as you can see, my fabric is on fold, and this is 46 inches on fold. So I'm just going to form a triangle shape so that it's easy for us to draft. You can actually draft it now that is on fold into 2, or you fold it into 4 like this. You can see I'm forming a triangle shape. This is the regular way we cut our 180 flare. So, and here we are. Okay, can you see? So this is what we have right now. Okay, so having folded my fabric, the next thing I'm going to do is to enter the radius, which is 9 inches. So from this apex here, I'm going to mark 9 inches. So I'm marking 9 inches. Okay, and then next I'm going to measure the length. I'm going to measure the length of the flare, which we already said is 36 inches. 36 inches. You see, so this is our flare. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. Okay, so this is our 180 flare. Let me open it up for us to see. You see, this is our 180 flare. So the next thing we're going to do is to cut the band. And to cut the band, I'm going to measure around the waistline. Now you will notice that I didn't talk about zip allowance. This is because with this formula, it always gives you extra 1 inch. Remember I said that the waist circumference I'm working with is 29 inches. So 29 divided by 2 is 14.5. You can see I have 15.5. So it has given me my zip allowance, okay? So here I have 15.5, which is plus our zip allowance. So that means the waist circumference now that we have, what we have here is 31 inches. So to cut the band, the waistband, I said that the waistband is going to be 4 inches, and that's including our stitching allowance. So I'm just going to fold my fabric into 2 like this and measure 4 inches, exactly 4 inches, so that by the time we're done stitching the band, I will be left with 3.5 inches. I'll be left with 3 inches, not 3.5. See, I'm done cutting out the band, and I also iron gum stitch to it, to the wrong side. So I folded it into 2, so I'm just going to slash it open. Band. So I'm going to place them right side facing right side like this and stitch the upper part. Then I'm going to fold the edges, that's on both sides, fold edges of half inch on both sides. And then this is the fabric I'm going to, there's this particular Ankara design on the shoulders of the jacket. I'm going to have this sitting on the shoulder area here. So before we do that, I'll need to start stitching them together. So right now we're done with our cutting, okay? So now this is what I'm going to do. I'll take this to my sewing machine and place the facing, right side of the facing right side of the fabric. I'll stitch the neckline. And then here, for the front, you can see that the front is cut together. That's the facing and the main fabric. So I'm going to stitch just the neckline here. Stitch it on half inch round, okay? And then I'll go ahead and weave this side. Just weave it down. I'll do that, iron it, and come back and show us how we're going to join the shoulders together. Okay, so I'm done joining the shoulders. After stitching the facing to the neckline, I went ahead to join the shoulders. Now this is it. I didn't turn the facing like normal way we turn our facing. And you see, I stitched I didn't join the shoulders the normal way we join our shoulders. After stitching the facing to the neckline, I opened it up. And you see, and then I stitched it on half inch. This is because I'm working with a denim fabric. Jeans is thick. So by the time you turn the shoulder, the normal way we turn shoulders, it will be too thick around here. So that is why I just opened it up like this, and I stitched on 1/2 inch all the way down to the sleeve opening. And you can see I also went ahead to weave it. I did the same thing on this side. So this is what our front facing now looks like at the back here. Can you see? I notched the neckline round and then gave it a good press. So now the next thing we're going to do is to stitch this Ankara fabric that we're going to have on the shoulder. So you can see I also went ahead to weave the edge of the Ankara fabric. This is what the fabric looks like. The measurement, let's open it up. The measurement is 1.5 inches. This is about 1 3/4 inch. Then I folded 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch on this side. So you can see what I am left with, okay? So now I'm going to fold it this way. I'll have it sitting on the shoulder. Can you see? So I'm leaving some part of it to go into the neckline like this. So I'm going to secure it with my pin. You want to make sure that it starts from the neckline here. So you can see I tucked some part of it in. Can you see? So I'm going to have this stitched this way, and then I'll stitch it all the way. So I'll trim out the excess. So I will do the same thing here. I'm going to leave about 2 inches to go inwards like this. And then I'm going to pin it down. So this is basically covering the stitch, that's the joining of the shoulder. It will cover it. And remember that I said that my front is longer and is shorter than the back. So can you see what we now have? Can you see how the front is coming down? The back rather is coming down to the front. I keep saying front, okay? It's coming down this way. So this is it. So we'll have this Ankara fabric just coming forward this way, okay? Then another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use a contrasting thread. Maybe I'm going to decide which color I'm going to use. That's based on the color of the Ankara. I'm going to run a stitch here this way. Take it this way, you know, and then I'll run 2 stitches just like the one in the thumbnail. I'm going to run stitches here just to stitch down my facing. Okay, so I'm just going to run the stitch down and hold it, run it down. So that stitch is going to be a different color of thread just to give the jacket a nice look. And you see what we have. So you can see how our jackets, and see how they are meeting each other here. So I'll go run a stitch here, stitch on this side and stitch on this side, stitch on this side, okay? So while I'm stitching, of course, it's going to reflect on the one at the back, so it will hold it down. So I'll go do that. I'll run that stitch I talked about, then come back and show us the next thing to do. Jacket, after making the top stitch, I used a lemon green, that's about this shade, to make my top stitch. And see how beautiful it is. So first I shaped the jacket on 1 inch, you see, and then I pressed the seam lines open before I went ahead to fold and then made this top stitch. So you want to make this top stitch on the right side so that you are seeing it, so that it's as straight as it can be. You can see it started from here all the way, went down to the back, and then this. So you can see I also went ahead to weave the base, that's the hem of our jacket, before I folded it. Okay, so this is it for our jacket. So the next thing we're going to do is to create the bucket sleeve. So for the bucket sleeve, remember we measured the sleeve opening here and we got 9 inches. Can you now see how this fabric is coming forward? This is the idea. It's not supposed to just sit on top of the shoulder. It needs to just tilt forward so that you can be seeing it. Okay, so now the sleeve opening I have here, you can see after stitching I have 9 inches. So 9 inches, that means 9 inches in front, 9 inches at the back, that's 18 inches. Okay, so that 18 times 2 is 36. Remember I said I used 18 times 2.5, but I'm going to reduce it back to that 18 times 2. I don't want the gathers to be too much. So 18 times 2, and take note that my fabric is on fold. So that means I have on fold. So this is 18 here. half of 37, half of 36 is 18, so my fabric is on fold. So this is our 18 here. I'm just going to add half inch, 1 inch, which is going to give me 19 inches. So I'll just cut out this excess. What I'm cutting out is not even much. This is really small, but I don't want it. I just want to use times 2. Okay, so please feel free if you want to use times 2.5 or 3. So just know that the more fabric you have, the more gathers you will have. I don't want these gathers too big. So with that being said, now you can see this is what we are going to be using for our gathers. Take note that it's on fold. Can you see? This is on fold, and the length is 10 inches. 9.9 and 3/4, almost 10 inches. So by the time we're done sewing, we're going to have about 9 inches. So I'm going to place this crinoline. This crinoline is what will give it that rounded look on the base at the down part here. Can you see? So I'm going to place the crinoline from this side. Can you see this folded part, which is my crease line? I'm going to pin the crinoline at this edge, making sure that it touches this folded part. I'll do the same thing here on this side, making sure that it touches this folded part. So now I'll bring in my hemming gum. So here's our hemming gum. I'm just going to use it to hold down the crinoline so that when we press it, it just sticks. So here I've placed the hemming gum underneath like this. So I'll cut out the excess crinoline. Then I'll bring in my pressing iron and steam press it. So now we have our crinoline in between, and you see I've folded it back. Okay, so can you see we have our crinoline on one side. So this side that has the crinoline is the side I'm going to be using as the lining side. That's the side that will be inside. So let's fold it into 2 like this, and then press it again. Okay, so now this is it. Can you see how it has this structured look at the head? So the next thing I'm going to do now is to open it up again like this and place it right side facing right side. Can you see what I just did? Right side facing right side this way. And I'm going to stitch. This is inseam finishing. I'm going to stitch on 1 inch. That 1 inch I left here, I'm going to stitch on 1 inch this way. This is so that when we turn it, we don't see the wrong side, the part of the crinoline. I'm going to stitch it this way. So I'll do the same thing for the second one and come back and show us how we'll be attaching our gathers. Okay, so as you can see, I'm done stitching close and I press the seam lines open. So the next thing I'm going to do is to turn it over. These are midpoint, the part that has the crinoline. So I'm just going to turn this one over like this. Can you see? So this is what we have. So don't press the crinoline flat, just press it like this. Press in between. Can you see how I'm doing? I'm pressing it from the inside so that it goes rounded. You can see my iron is inside it. Did you see that? So this will allow it to give this standing effect. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to stitch close this opening. Like I said, the part that has the crinoline is the side I'm going to leave on the inside. That's the side that is going to be the lining, so that this part is very smooth. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch this place round, and then I'm going to gather it. I will gather it to that 9. We have 9 in front, we have 9 at the back, so I'll gather it to 18 inches and stitch it to the arm, that's to the sleeve opening. And you see what we have on the inside. So everything is neat. You can't see my joining. So the joining in between here. So I'm going to gather it to 18 inches like I said. I'll stitch it to the sleeve opening. I'll do the same thing for the second one and show us what we have. So I'm done stitching the bucket flare. Can you see? So I just placed it right side facing right side this way, and I stitched. You can see I've also gone ahead to weave it. So this is what our bucket sleeves looks like. Can you see how nice it came out? And this is it here also on this side. You see? So now we are done with our jacket. So I'm going to keep this aside. Okay, for the jacket, the only thing I'm going to do extra is just to use hemming gum to hold down the facing, the back facing. Okay, and I'll also take off all this, my gather thread. I'll take them off. So for the skirt, as you can see, I've gone ahead to hem the down part. I weaved it before hemming it, so you can see it is neat. So this is our waistband. Can you see that I've already stitched the waistband, right side facing right side, and then I pressed it. Okay, I pressed half inch on this side, half inch on this side on the two edges, and you can see I folded it into two. So now the next thing I'm going to do, we'll get the wrong side of our skirt. This is the wrong side here, and then I'm going to place the band like this. First I'm going to leave about half inch or 1 inch here, and then I will open up the band like this. Can you see I opened up one folded edge, and then I'm going to stitch it all the way to this side here. I can see this is an excess. I'm going to trim it out. So after stitching it, then I'm going to place the band this way, right side facing right side, and I'll close up the band. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Then I'll go ahead and turn the band to the right side like this and make a top stitch. I've done several videos on how to fix our band on our skirt. So all I'll just do is to make a top stitch here. Then for the center back, I'm going to close up the center back starting from the hem. But here on the waistline, I'm going to come down with about 11 inches because this is a high waist skirt. So from the waistline to 11 inches, that's where I'll have the zipper. So I'll stitch down that 1 inch all the way down close, and then I'll fix my zipper to the center back. Then I'll show us the final outcome of this outfit. Okay, so here is the final outcome of our denim jacket with bucket flare. And you see how beautiful it is. 180 flared skirt is looking so pretty. I had to create a belt for it. It's just a normal rope. You know, it doesn't have a belt hole. This is just for style. So I just attached a rope to the waistline. So it's more like a belt you just tie on the waistline. And then you can also see the contrasting thread we have. That's the stitch that goes from the neckline round the waist and all the way, and then comes back to the neckline. Can see it's giving us that jeans effect, that double stitching that jeans usually has. And I also went ahead to create cover buttons. So this cover button is just for style, it's just decoration. I just placed it on the neckline, just like the one on the thumbnail. So this outfit came out really beautiful, and we have come to the end of this video. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, make sure to like this video, share this video with your friends, and do not hesitate to subscribe. Subscribing means you are supporting my channel and you are saying well done. So please make sure to subscribe, and also make sure to turn on your notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And please feel free to ask questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop your questions. I will always respond. Thank you so much, and see you in my next video. Bye.